Joining us now, campaign manager for Donald Trump's winning bid for the White House, Kellyanne Conway. Hello.
Hello, Mika.
How are you?
Fabulous.
All right, we're going to talk about the transition and the chaos that is being reported. I put that in quotes. It's always chaos. But how do you look toward the Trump administration? Do you see yourself as a part of that?
Oh, me personally, perhaps. Mr. Trump asked me immediately if I would serve with him, come to the White House with him. I think that was at 4 a.m. on election night into the next morning. I said, well, right now, because I thought maybe he would be going. That sounds like him. But I'm honored to be asked to serve, and I do want to find out what my highest and best use is for him and for Vice President-elect Pence. But I also told him not to worry about me. He's very busy talking to world leaders. He's very busy forming his cabinet and rounding out his senior staff. And I'm sure many of your viewers can relate, but mother of 4 young children is not in any of the job descriptions that I saw for the big jobs. It's a good lesson for everyone, actually. There are limits. But I'm really excited because I'm at transition every day. I've been with him every day since he was elected, and he has come into this role beautifully. He's a guy who's very accustomed to being accountable for delivering, for producing, for solving problems, for building things, and he's approaching the president-elect job much the same way.
I want to show you something. Because there's a lot of talk about Rudy Giuliani as Secretary of State. I guess you've said that you know he'd be an incredible one. That was Tuesday, though. Here he is talking about himself.
There's a big merger that's been announced that may go through AT&T, Time Warner. You could be Attorney General. It could come up on your ledger as in the antitrust department. Something like, are these big mergers going to be opposed by the Trump administration?
Well, first of all, I won't be Attorney General.
You won't be Attorney General.
So good. I won't have to decide that one.
Okay.
Thank God.
Made that clear.
So I can escape that one.
I should ask Jeff Sessions that question, should I?
Wouldn't be a bad idea, but I don't know who's going to be Attorney General.
The Wall Street Journal reported earlier this afternoon that the choice for Secretary of State in the Trump administration is down to Rudolph Giuliani and John Bolton. We don't have John Bolton here tonight, so I'm going to ask you some questions about...
John would be a very good choice.
Is there anybody better?
Maybe me, I don't know.
Kellyanne, from what you know from working with Donald Trump, would you say that that's the approach you want to take?
Well, Mayor Giuliani and President-elect Trump are very close, and the mayor was an incredibly active and engaged advisor throughout the campaign.
I know you're really good at this.
And I know
you're really good at this, but there's no way that somebody getting out in front of himself and saying, I turned down Attorney General when he asked me, and now I would be the best Secretary of State, is something that Donald Trump would like to see happening with people that he's talking to privately about key top administration posts. Can we just be clear and honest about that?
Oh, sure.
Is there any way, shape, or form that that is the way to act?
I think that these conversations are always best in private, particularly when you're forming a cabinet and a senior staff, Mika, no question, which is why I don't say too much about myself. I actually spoke at that same CEO council right after Mayor Giuliani, and he felt very comfortable in a room of 200 or so CEOs. I guess it was broadcast as well, and it was a much more lighter environment than perhaps he would encounter in other situations. But I think Rudy Giuliani would be phenomenal at many different positions in President Trump's cabinet, and I can expect him to continue to be an advisor. He would command a certain presence around the world if he were Secretary of State. But I will tell you, somebody who's highly involved with transition, we have long short lists for every position. Right. Some would not surprise you, and some would absolutely surprise you.
So if he says he's on the top of the list, is he wrong?
I don't know. I can't really answer that question publicly.
One of the other names that's been reported today by actually Joe Scarborough reporting that Governor Nikki Haley of South Carolina is also on that list for Secretary of State. Can you confirm that for us? Is she on the list? She's
coming to visit today. She and President-elect Trump will meet today at Trump Tower, and followed by a meeting that he and Vice President-elect Pence will have with Prime Minister Abe from Japan. We're very excited about that meeting, even though we're very sensitive to the fact that we already have a president and a commander-in-chief still in office. So these meetings are far less formal than they will be once President Trump is inaugurated.
I'm sure that'll be a great meeting, but what's he meeting with Nikki Haley about?
Well, why not? She's a sitting governor she's a sitting governor. He's been talking to all types of governors and heads of state, senators. She obviously is qualified for many different positions, and I haven't talked with her directly if she'd like to serve, and I think sometimes, well, no, we know often really that sometimes advisors and people on the outside looking in like to sort of populate the press with different stories that may or may not be accurate. It's a way to, I think it's a way to float a trial balloon and have the world as your focus group in terms of will this person be on the short list for X position.
So do you believe that Governor Nikki Haley would be qualified to be Secretary of State?
I have not looked at that in terms of, I know I'm not, so I didn't put myself out there for that. But she's been a remarkable governor of South Carolina, and she's somebody who came around toward the end to support President-elect Trump, and we appreciate her support. Other people in South Carolina who are Republicans did not, and that's fine. You know, I'm incredibly gracious even to those who didn't support us, because I think when you're forming a government and when you're representing all Americans, as Donald Trump promised he would, the night or the wee hours of the morning after he was elected, Willie, that it's important to walk that walk. I'm very happy that just this week you had everyone from President Obama to Vice President Biden basically signaling they want to work together with the new administration, but also, in the words of Vice President Biden just yesterday after he met with Mr. Pence, that nobody should expect the government to be formed overnight. That's just not how it works. It would actually be irresponsible, frankly. And also, you know, to hear Vice President Biden say, quote, he's confident that this government will be in good hands with Donald Trump and Mike Pence, and I think that's key. So we look forward to welcoming Governor Haley to the Trump Tower today.
In pursuit of accuracy, there are a flood of leaks and reports that, you know, confuse people and names are dropped. But one of the leaks / reports has it that General Flynn has eliminated Admiral McRaven, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Peter Pace, Marine Corps General James Mattis from playing any role in the security apparatus, the intelligence apparatus of this country. A, is that an accurate report? And B, do subordinates within the transition team have the ability to just draw lines through people's names?
The answer to your last question is no, and it informs the first question, Mike, which is that Donald J. Trump and he alone are going to decide, you know, who's in and who's out. These are decisions that only he can make. He's the man who was elected president of the United States and commander-in-chief. And I would politely say to everyone, don't fool yourself into thinking that anyone else will have that ultimate decision. Having said that, he takes the counsel of many people, particularly those who were his close 8 to 10 advisors throughout. General Flynn is one of them. He rode the plane with Mr. Trump. He was incredibly important in talking to him about national security issues and otherwise during the campaign. That will continue. He's in the tower most days as well on transition. But it's Donald Trump and Donald Trump alone, people should, you know, recognize right now, who makes those ultimate decisions. And that's how it should be. Only one person's name was on the ballot, and it was his.
Do you have a timeline for first cabinet appointments, and what's the goal for completing the cabinet?
So we took a look, Mark, even just yesterday and the day before, at what the timeline has been for past administrations, and we see that we're sort of right on target, and we're happy with that. It's nothing to rush through. I think those decisions are being made quickly and imminently, but they'll be announced either before or after Thanksgiving, and then you'll see a number of announcements. So far, they've announced 2 of their senior staffers. He's announced, you know, Reince Priebus and Steve Bannon. But I think the cabinet, he'll decide, and he's probably closer to some of those decisions than people realize. But you just nobody's in a rush to do the wrong thing, and he's taken the counsel of many different people. We're very happy. I was at Transition Office in D.C. this week. Very happy with the buzz of activity down there. I saw everybody from old Reagan hands who worked on his transition, his administration, to millennials who were born after President Reagan left the Oval Office. And it's exciting to see that type of activity. Those folks are doing the nitty-gritty. It's not glamorous work, but it's important and essential work.